Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tia. In this video I'm gonna be working on this long mesh skirt that Megan is wearing here. So this is a very simple one. I've done a dress already in green that I posted a while back. So we're just gonna be doing the version that is the skirt version. So this is what we're gonna be working on. It's very long, it's mesh. You can wear this in the summer-ish. I used acrylic, so if you do use other wool that is not as hot in the summer, you can wear it in the summer. But let's say in the fall spring season, you can definitely wear it with either leggings underneath, or you can wear it with stockings, with shorts underneath, or in the winter you can wear it with, like I said, leggings and things like that. Okay, you can also use this skirt as bikini cover when you go to the beach. But again, if you make it in a non-acrylic wool, you can wear it in the summer, so therefore you can use it as a bikini cover as well when you go out to the beach. So this is what we're going to be working on. Let's go grab our materials and I'll take you guys to the work table so we can go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, so before we get this project started, I'm going to show you the materials that we're using for it. And as you can see, this is the yarn that I'm using. I'm using all black for this project. And this is Azurite by Timids, and it's 100% acrylic. It's a lightweight number 3, and the color number is 0585, which is black. So but this company does go by just the color number, not the color name. And this is 50 grams for this skein here, and it is 140 meters if you go by meters. Recommended hook size is 3.5 to 4 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using. Obviously use any color, any type of yarn of your choice, but if you want to follow the tutorial kind of like to the T, it's probably best to buy the same type of yarn. Just that way your work is not going to come a little bit off, especially if it's a different size or a different type of material. Okay, but obviously feel free to use any yarn of your choice if you're able to adjust the sizes based on the type of yarn that you have. For crochet hook size, I'm using 5 millimeter crochet hook, which is 8 H8 US, and it's a preference that I'm using this one just so my work is nice and loose. And I have my scissors here and my tape measure to be able to get my sizes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to be working on the band of the skirt first. And so to do that, we're going to create a number of chains that will be the width of our band for the skirt. So I'm going to leave the yarn a little bit long, just something like that, because we're going to need something to join the two sides of the band so we can work on the rest of the skirt. So I'm going to leave just something like this, not too much. And then I'm going to go ahead, let me adjust it here so it's a little bit nice and close for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and do my slip knot. So I do my slip knot like this. Okay, that's like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a chain of 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oopsie. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so that's my band width here, and that is a chain of 11. So depending on how wide you want your band to be, you can do more chains to create a wider band or less to create a narrower band. And then we're gonna just pivot our work a little bit like this. And in this stitch here, we don't work anything because our working yarn comes through that. But in the next one right here, we're gonna go in the back and grab the back loop and complete a single crochet. And then we're gonna go into the next stitch, grab the back loop and do a single crochet. And then in the back of the next, complete a single crochet. And for this part here, you just complete single crochets all the way to the end of this row. So this is our first row here. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you guys at the end. Okay, so this is the end of my first row for the band. And because we started with 11 rows and we skipped the first 11 stitches and then we skipped the first stitch, we have 10 stitches all together here. So this is 10 stitches, okay? And then for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to work in the back loops of our stitches. And so from the very first one, this stitch here, we're gonna go in the back loop and grab the back loop like this and complete our single crochet. And then we're gonna go into the next stitch, grab the back loop and complete a single crochet. And then the same thing for the rest of the stitches here. What I do as a preference, however, is that for the final stitch, instead of going through the back loop, I go through both loops. It just creates a solid end for each side, because if you see, this side is very solid, like you don't see a division here. And I want the same for this other side, because I find that if I go in the back loop for the final crochet, it kind of stretches that final stitch a little bit and it looks loose and weird. And I'll show you quickly here as I'm approaching it. So this is my final stitch here. So I do go through it like this. So I grab both loops like this to complete my single crochet. And if I was to go in the back only, I would be doing this. And I don't like the look of it like this. I don't like that it has this kind of look here. So by going through both stitches, I end up kind of rounding it up a little bit. And I find that it looks better if it looks like this. And then for row 3, I chain 1, I turn, and I just repeat the same thing. So for the band, you repeat it for many rows depending on your size. So I am a small, so I always make things that are a little bit on the loose side of small. And that's because I want to be able to fit it if I gain a little bit of weight still. And if I lose weight, I can still wear it. That is not too loose, okay? So I go ahead and complete the band. And to do that, you just repeat what we're doing here all the way until you have the length of your band. And how do you determine the length of your band? You grab your tape measure. You take the, whatever measurements you use. I use inches. You take the inches section, you put it around your waist, just like that, and you can get the waist side like this. Now if you do go with the waist, you have to make sure this is not stretched at all. You have to make sure this is actually very loose. But if you go with the widest part of your hips, so let's say my waist is, let's say 10. I'm just making these up because obviously I have a bigger waist than that. So let's say my waist is about 10 inches. If I do the band here to be 10 inches without stretching it, it means it will probably stretch to something about, let's say 15. But let's say the widest part of my hips is 15. Then I'm just making a waistband here that stretches to 15. So I hope you understand that. So what I often do is I create this part that goes around my hips when I stretch it. So I work it, and then I keep stretching it. And then when it kind of stretches to the widest parts of my hips, then I stop there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And when I have the length of my band that fits me, I will stop, I will come back so I can show you guys how to do the next part of the project, okay? I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed the band here. So as you can see, it's quite long. If we fold it like this, this is gonna be your waistband here. So this is where it's gonna be for your waist. Now, in terms of number of rows, I did 102 rows altogether here. And it stretches very well. The fact that I used a little bit of a bigger hook size than what is recommended make it so that it's kind of nice and elasticy and a little bit loose. It's not too rigid that if you pull, it's barely pulling. And what I did, so just so you guys understand, the widest part of my hips is about 38 inches. So I worked this so that it's 38, but I also like to play it with a little bit of room with it. So it actually goes up to about 41. When I stretch it quite a lot, instead of 38, I added about 3 inches more. And I just like to play with that extra room so that, like I said, if I gain a little bit of pounds, I can still kind of put on my skirt without it being too loose, without it being too tight, okay? So it's absolutely up to you. But for me, when I stretch this fully, it comes up to about 41 inches. But my waist, the widest part of my hips is about 38 inches. All right. So with that said, so I have 102 rows here for those of you who like to know how many rows I did, but that's it. But it's also because it's my size. For different sizes, it would be a different number of rows. So just so you're aware of that. All right, so I'm going to fold my work in half, just like this, okay? Put my band like this. So this is how it's gonna be. This is the little string that we left so we can join our work. And I forgot to show you guys a darning needle at the beginning. So you do need a darning needle as well. If you don't, you can use your hook to join here, which is just working single crochets across here, or slip stitches as well can work for joining, but I like to join by using one of these guys here. So I'm gonna take the yarn that I left, I'm gonna insert that into my the darning needle hole there. And the way you line it here is you want it so that these areas here that folds in go together. And what I also do is I make sure I always end with an even number, so that my joining here is going to be straight and it's not going to be one is facing that way and one is facing inwards. Okay, so with that done here, I'm going to take my darning needle. This is my very first stitch here. I'm going to go into that stitch, and then I'm going to go into the opposite stitch like this. Okay, then I'm going to pull, and I'm going to do that one more time to make it 2, but the second time I'm going to loop my yarn around like this. And what this does is it just kind of secures that section so it doesn't come off. So this is solid here. Okay, and then for the rest of the stitches, I'm going to join by grabbing the inside loop on this side, and on the opposite side the outside loop. Okay, so this side here, there's these stitches, these things that look like V's here, and on the other side I just grab one loop of the V if it's on the inside on this, and then it's going to be on the outside of the other one on the other side. Then I'll pull, and don't pull too tight because you don't want it to kind of crunch it up. And then I'll go into the next stitch and repeat the same thing. And because you have exactly the same number of stitches here, which is 10, you're going to be able to line up your sewing here very well, because you're not going to have a stitch that will have no partner to partner up with. So just very easy like this. And you're making sure you're not pulling too hard, so it's nice and loose, but at the same time not too loose that it's gonna have a gap at the end. And as you can see, this is how it looks like. It joins very, very well, very clean. Okay, and then for the final stitch right here, I'm gonna go through both of the loops, just like we did at the beginning, and on the other side as well. And I'm gonna go through and pull that, and again, just like I did on the other side, I will go one more time, bring my yarn around like that, go in. It's almost like doing a chain 1 or and then pulling. Okay, so it locks it in by doing that. And then I'll remove my stitch marker or my darning needle. So that's it. This is where I joined my work here, and as you can see, it does not look like there's a joining at all there. Okay, so that's it. And as you can see, I still have my working yarn, so I did not cut these off when I finished my band. I have it so I can continue to work with it. I'll bring my crochet hook back in, and I'll just remove this so it doesn't distract you here. Okay, and I'm gonna leave this here because if there is any changes you need to make, you can undo this very easily, unravel a couple of rows if you need to, or whatever the case, whatever correction that you will need to do to your work. Not that I hope that you will have to go back and make corrections, but I leave this because, you know, just leave it for now. There's no need to cut it or weave it in immediately. Okay, all right, so as I'm winding my yarn on my finger like this to get ready to work on the body of the skirt, I'm gonna do that. And then now I have my hook here. I'm gonna put this guy on the side, and now I just need to work on this here. So the first thing that I'm gonna do here, we're gonna start with a mesh part of this skirt, because we're gonna alternate mesh and solid, mesh and solid. And so the first thing, I'm gonna do a chain of 3. So 1, 2, 3. The first 2 chains count as a double crochet. The third chain counts as a chain 1. Okay, and then we're gonna skip that in this. So I'm gonna, this bumpy area here, I'm gonna skip. Can you see this bumpy area here? I'm gonna skip, and on this valley area, I'm gonna go in there and do a double crochet like that. Okay, so this is gonna be my chain 2 is a double crochet and plus chain 1 here. Then I'll do a chain 1, then I'll skip this stitch or this area here, and in the next valley area I will do a double crochet, chain 1, skip this bumpy area, in the valley area do a double crochet, chain 1, skip this, go into that, do a chain, and I just alternate these all the way around the band. So I'm gonna have you guys look at what I'm doing here. See, if you look at it closely, anywhere that is going, that goes in like this, I have a stitch in it. And then anywhere that protrudes like this, I don't have any stitch in it. It's a chain one that represents this area. Okay, that's important to know because it's going to make your work even, so that you don't have to understand where you need to put a stitch in for this first row. The rest of the rows are going to fall in place automatically, but for this first row you want to be able to not have to worry about where do I put my next stitch and things like that. You just kind of put it in the valley, and the chain one covers the protruding area. Okay, all right, so we're gonna do this all the way around the band, all the way until we come back here, until we come back to the beginning here. So do that. When you complete your very last double crochet here, come back to the video and I'm gonna show you what to do for the next row. And then we're going to talk about the number of rows that you're going to need to repeat, or however long you're going to need to repeat for the length of your skirt. Okay, I will see you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked my stitches here all around the band. So as you can see, this is how it looks like. Okay, so I went all around like this, and as you can see, so this is the beginning of where we started right here. But as you can see, this gap here is too wide. If I went straight to doing a slip stitch right here, let's say, this gap is too wide. So what I will do, and this is where we join, so we kind of join two different sides of the band, and that makes this area stay wide here. So we're gonna just go ahead and do a stitch right here. So I already did my chain one, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into this area here and complete a double crochet. And so now all I have is this gap here, and then our other side. I'm gonna do a chain one and then count from the chain three that we started the row with. So 1, 2, and then in the third on top, I'm gonna go ahead and do a slip stitch like this. Okay, so this is how your work should do. You should be able to have this gap and this gap here, and then the rest of the spacing of the gaps. Okay, so this is the first row of this completed. And now we're going to start the second row, and for the second row I'm going to do a chain of 2, and I'm going to turn. So we're going to work on this other side. The reason I do the turning is there's no problem at all. You could have just gone and worked around the other way, but I just like to turn because it makes my stitches even in a way. Maybe it's not quite the truth, but I just like to turn. So let's say that's why I do it, because you could have just worked by continuing your stitches working that way, but I like this idea of turning and working in a circle. So now we have done a chain 2 and turned. I have this chain 1 gap that we have here. I'm going to do a double crochet in that. So again, my chain 2 counts as a double crochet, so this is a double crochet stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a double crochet on top of that double crochet from the previous row. So we're going to do pretty much a double crochet on top of every stitch all around, including the chain 1 that we have between our mesh areas here. Okay, so, and you just go ahead and do that. So for where you're doing a double crochet on top of the previous double crochet, you go into the stitch. Where there was a chain 1, you go and just go underneath the chain 1 to complete your double crochet like that. And then you go on top of the double crochet from previously, and then you go underneath the chain 1 to do complete double crochet. So this is what you should have. You should have a mesh section, and then immediately after that, the next row is a solid section, and then this is what we alternate all throughout. Okay, but for now, because I want to show you guys how to start the next row as well, work these stitches here all the way around the circle again. And when you have reached the beginning of the row, so where we started off right here, when you have done, let's say your double crochet, final double crochet here, come back to the video and I will show you how to finish off, how to slip stitch, and how to chain turn, and then start the next row. Okay, and when we do that, that's all I need to show you. We will talk a little bit about how and what you can do to increase in case you feel like you need to increase your the width of your work. I will talk a little bit about that, not necessarily show you where I may do it or may not, because I'm not sure if I will or not. So, but I will show you if you're to try to increase or even decrease, how you would be able to do that. Okay, I will see you guys for now at the beginning when you have gone all the way to come back to the beginning here. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked my double crochet rows around again, and I've come all the way back to where we started here. So as you can see right here, I went into the stitch with the double crochet from the previous double crochet, and now I have this chain one gap that I will also work into that and complete a double crochet. And I came back without finishing that just to show you that you do need to go into that final gap here as well to do a double crochet. And then as you can see, this stitch here lines up with this double crochet here, so we're good. So you just go ahead and slip stitch on top of the chain three. So you go right into this stitch right here and do a slip stitch, and that closes this section here, but you still have your double crochets. Okay, and then to start the third row, you're gonna go ahead and do a chain of three, and be generous with your stitches here. Don't do them too tight, just as loose as you can, not too loose, but make sure you're not doing it too tight either. Then when you turn, as you can see, that is connected to this stitch right here. And then the first two double crochets are a the first two chains are a double crochet, and then plus a chain one, which is the chain one for the extra. And so you're going to skip this stitch right here. And in the next stitch right here, you're going to go in to complete your double crochet. Chain one, skip this stitch right here. In that stitch, you go in to do your double crochet. Chain one, and then again you just alternate these all around until you come back to the beginning. And then this is just what you repeat until your project is done. There's nothing else, nothing more. Depending on the length of that you're doing, you could be working a while. You could also do this into a short skirt if you wanted to, a medium length skirt, or just like a long skirt that like we're doing for this tutorial. So we're doing this so it goes all the way to our ankles. And this is something that you can wear in the summer. It's a little bit of a hot material because I'm using acrylic, but let's say you substitute this for a yarn that is good to wear in the summer. You can wear this with shorts underneath, with a nice tank top, or you can wear this even in the winter if you have like some nice leggings underneath, which is probably how I'm gonna use this mostly because it is acrylic. And here where I live, the winters are not hot like it is in Canada, for example. So they're not as cold as it is in Canada. So I would not have to worry about it not being not too warm. So with leggings in here, when winters go down to like less than zero or like 0 degrees or even higher, I don't have to worry about that much. So that's probably how I'm going to be wearing this. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you one more thing. So do your meshes all the way to back here, because I'm going to show you how you would increase if you need to increase, or how to decrease if you have to decrease. Okay. So I will have you work the meshes all the way here. When you get back here, I will show you how to go back into this solid row, but at the same time, I will also show you how you would to increase or decrease. Okay. So I'll see you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed this row here, and as you can see, again, I have done my double crochet right here, and then I have my this section here that I have not worked into, so that's the one that we are going to skip because we're doing the meshes. So this one stitch is going to be part of our chain one. So that means I do a chain one, then count 1 2 3 on top of that three chains on top of the last one. I go ahead and do a slip stitch like this. Okay, then I'll chain 2, turn, and then as I turn, I often flip it so that I can work with it like this, nice and flat, and it doesn't bother me to have to twist it every time. And then so I'm gonna go ahead and go into the chain one spot that we just created here and do a double crochet, and then go into the next stitch and do a double crochet, and then under the chain one do a double crochet. Am I off here? Not. And then we're gonna go ahead and just continue to work this. Now I wanted to come back to show you here if you wanted to increase or decrease. I think most likely the increase will be the more important part as opposed to decrease. And I don't know, maybe you figure that this is too wide and you want to decrease, or you figure this is too narrow and you would like to increase and make it a lot wider. So let's say you are increasing. What I would recommend is count how many stitches you have all around here, like the double crochet plus the chain one between, so all the stitches pretty much, count them. And then let's say you have 50 stitches here. Do every 10, so go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So as you see, this is 9 stitches here, and then on the 10th you would increase. So you would go into this do a double crochet, and then go into the same spot and do a second double crochet. That would be you increasing your stitches. So now you have increased here by 1, and then you will go ahead and do 9 more, and on the 10th you do the same. And that is depending on how wide you want to increase. If you want to just increase slightly, you can do every 19. So you do 19 stitches, and then in the 20th you increase. If you want it to be even more narrow than that, you can go 5. Or sorry, if you want to increase it even more, you would do 5 and then increase. But what I recommend is you don't increase in the same row too much, because it takes your work from looking like this to immediately looking like this, okay? To immediately having this very sharp outwards look, and you don't want that. So I would recommend that if you want to increase your work, do it per row. So you would do maybe what I just showed you here, 10. Every 10 you increase, and then in the next row you do your normal mesh without anything. Don't do anything on the mesh. And then your next solid row like this, you would increase more, and you can increase less in that one. So instead of after 9 stitches on the 10th you increase, you would do after maybe 6, the 7th one you increase, or 4, and then after on the 5th one you increase. Okay, so that's how you would increase your stitches. And if you're to decrease, let's say we go with the same idea on decreasing after 9, after 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's say you want to decrease now. Let's say this is where you want to decrease. I would probably not recommend that you decrease it by skipping this gap. I would recommend that you decrease by skipping this section. So to decrease, instead of going on top of this double crochet here, you would just go directly to the chain 1 gap like this. So as you see, this is where you decrease. You no longer have a stitch on top of the double crochet. And then you will go ahead and go into the next stitch, and then just do the next couple of stitches the same, no worry. And then make sure you're evening it out. And then let's say this is my number 9 or number 8, and then this is my number 9. Instead of going on top of here, I just go directly onto the other side like this. And then we continue and work our stitches. So this is if you want to decrease. And as you can see, it brings your work in. It kind of brings it in this way instead of going out. So this is how you would decrease, okay? I'm not doing any of that, at least not now yet, because I don't know how my work will look as I go. I freestyle my work a lot, so I often kind of find out as I go what I need to change or how I need to change it. So for now, I'm very confident that as I work on my work, it's going to continue to go out, obviously, like that. I'm very confident that this is going to fit me, because this is the stretch that I wanted is all here. This is going to go around my hips. This is going to go on my waist. And if my waist is too wide, I'm going to use like I'm going to do a drawstring to be able to draw it in here. So I'm confident with that. But if I was to decrease, I would do that a little bit later, because this is kind of like where your waist line is, and then it kind of follows the shape of your body. You don't want to increase right away, because it goes like this and it makes it loose right away after, like around your belly button, and you don't want that. You want for it to be a nice fitting, and then if let's say your hips, you want it to be a little bit more looser than maybe what you have anticipated, then you can increase in that section, okay? And that is that means you have to keep trying your work. So I would say work on this until, let's say, it passes your backside. You know what I mean by backside? There's words I cannot use here, because then YouTube will give me problems for it. So let's say you have a backside that kind of curves out, and let's say you have gone past that, and this fits because you keep trying it on, and it goes under your backside very easily, and you want to start decreasing because maybe it's too wide and you don't want it to kind of fall wide, then you can decrease by just doing what we did, okay? All right, well, that is all I'm gonna talk about and show you. I'm gonna keep working on my work here. By the time that I'm done, if I did end up decreasing or increasing, I will come back to show you when, how, and why, okay? So that's it for now. I'm gonna keep working on my work, and I should be able to come back when I have the full length, which is all the way to my ankles, okay? See you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have pretty much worked and finished the work here. So this took pretty much a few hours to go through. And as you can see here, I have completed the skirt. This is where we started off here, and I worked all the way to the length of it down here, okay? So this is the length of it. I ended up finishing it off with the double crochet row instead of the mesh row. And then of course I cut off my yarn and I fasten it here. I haven't weaved in the end yet, but this is pretty much it. So I'm gonna talk to you about some of the increases I have done here. So I worked my project here. When I got to the 14th row, which is I think this row right here, I decided to increase it a little bit. Not because it was not fitting me, because as you can see, this is obviously really wide, but because I decided I wanted it to be a little bit loose, so that it's not hugging me. Because if I go with it at this length, this width right here, it's hugging me. And I wanted it to be a little bit loose and it doesn't hug me as much. So on the 14th row, right about here, I increased by pretty much every 10th stitch was an increase, every 10th stitch was an increase all the way around. And then I just left it like that. So as you can see, it started to get wide and then it started to stay wide pretty much all the way until I got to the 34th row. So this 34th row right here, as you can see, the length started to change, or the width started to change, started to come in, because right here decided to start to decrease. And the way I did that is on the next double crochet row, solid double crochet row, I started to decrease it every 10 stitches again. So after 9 normal stitches, on the 10th I decreased by skipping one of these guys here and putting it on the very next stitch. And I did that, and by doing that I started to narrow down my work. So as you can see, kind of goes in here and then it stays down, down, down all the way to where I have it finished here. Okay, so these are the changes that I did, and I talked to you in the previous clip that I will be talking to you guys if I end up decreasing or increasing, but that's what I did. So this is pretty much done. So it goes all the way to my ankles. And again, for those of you who want to know how many rows I do, not that it matters, because it's gonna depend on every person who is doing it, depending on your height, depending on your preference, all of that. But I ended up doing 70 rows all the way from the beginning of it here all the way to the bottom where I finished it up here. That is 70 rows. Okay, now that is pretty much it. So all I have to do now is go in and weave in my ends. So I have the string that was left over here from when we joined this section here. I'm gonna weave that in, and I'm gonna go ahead and weave this end section here as well, where I changed the colors as well, which is I think on the inside part. Maybe I have already weaved those in, but anywhere where I use where I get more yarn to join, because obviously this is a whole bunch of skeins together, and I will also tell you how much that is, and I will also put it in the description box of the video. And anyways, anything that I need to weave in, I'm gonna weave in and I will be done. Okay, just so, before I forget, because I often forget to write in the description box, I ended up using about 8 skeins of the 10 that comes in a package. So this is 8 skeins out of 10, and each skein is 140 meters, and which is about 50 grams. Okay, so this is 8 of them all together here at 50 grams or 140 meters. So yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and weave in my ends, and then that will pretty much be the end of the video. So thank you again for watching the video to the end. I hope you guys enjoyed making this one. Again, it's one that you can wear either in the summer or the winter. If it's a good yarn that you're using, you can wear it in the summer as just an outfit to go out if you wear shorts inside, because it is obviously meshy, so it's transparent. And as well, if you're wearing it in the winter, you can wear it with leggings, nice leggings underneath, and it gives you good coverage, but you're wearing something nice as well. Okay, all right, well, thank you so much again. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.